the president sent out letters to 17 of the CEOs of the largest drug companies in the United States and in the world saying two things. One, drugs are too expensive here in the US. Two, they're too cheap overseas, and it's unfair. It's a bad deal, something the president, of course, famously abhors. And so what he did is gave them 60 days to meet a series of maybe impossible and questionably legally enforceable goals that he has, one of which is to lower the cost of medicines that they sell to Medicaid, the government's program for lower income Americans, and then also to normalize the price of new medicines, the US prices with those offered to wealthy nations overseas through a policy called most favored nations that has been floating around for a while and actually something that the president tried and failed to implement back in his first term. It's a lot of threatening language, and getting kind of a nasty gram from the president of the United States is probably not something a CEO would want. But the reaction among analysts has been pretty tepid in that this is an escalation of something the president has described, but it's also something that has so far proved to be fairly toothless. The legal basis for mandating drug makers do this is pretty murky, and it doesn't seem to be within the aegis of the executive branch. But it certainly expands this narrative that pharma is kind of under fire regulatorily in the United States.
Damien, is it clear whether this would actually save U.S. consumers money, particularly since the proposal mostly affects newly launched drugs?
Right. That's a great question. And the answer is no, it isn't clear, because what the White House has really focused on is not so much the price of medicines in the US, but rather the differential between what they cost here and what they cost, for example, in Germany or the United Kingdom. So one way to basically answer the president's demands would be to effectively just raise the prices charged overseas, in which case, that might constitute a better deal for America as an entity, but wouldn't actually lower the prices in the United States, and it certainly wouldn't lower the out-of-pocket costs that patients pay.
So, Damien, is there an opportunity here for some of these companies to maybe just show some, I don't know, at least some minor price cuts to appease the president, or is there something more fundamental that they need to do? Because I mean, every American would love to pay lower drug prices for sure.
I think there are some ornamental things that drug companies can do to, I don't want to say pay lip service, but to kind of try to meet the White House halfway. We've seen early versions of them. One of the things that the White House has asked for is companies to offer direct-to-consumer channels for basically patients to buy drugs directly for them at the prices that are, or at prices that are equivalent to what insurance companies negotiate down. We have seen companies do that. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk have done it with their GLP-1 weight loss medicines, which obviously are in huge demand. And then recently, Pfizer and Bristol Myers Squibb did it with Eliquis, which is a blood thinner that is widely used. Each of those has an asterisk that kind of cuts against the idea that this could be some like shift change in American drug pricing. For Eliquis, for example, it's a single-digit percentage of people who take that drug who don't have insurance of some type, either commercial or through Medicare, to get it. So the notion that the company selling it at this discounted rate off of its list price has some kind of sea change in the way this goes is, I think, a bit of a stretch.